So first of all, I would like to thank University of Silesia for giving this kind opportunity to share my views on systematic review of fake news regulations on social media platforms during elections. And before coming to this systematic review, I want to introduce some events which happened in our country itself, India, right from starting 2019. We have the first amendment which happened in Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. We have passed a law relating to the regulations of refugees and migration, which was Citizen Amendment Act 2019, which also we have the elections in West Bengal, one of the states in India, Punjab, Goa, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. And during these elections and between all the constitutional amendments which were happening in our country, we see a huge number of fake news which was spread on a lot of social media platforms. Now, when we see these pictures, one of the news which was during a woman, we can see in the picture she is seeing a cylinder, and then this news was imposed on the social media platforms during the pandemic, saying that the government failure and similar the woman carrying the oxygen cylinder. So this was something which happened in 2015 and it was posted in 2019 or 20 showing the government failure. So we can see the impact of these news which are coming up. Next to that picture, we can see a picture from the elections in Uttar Pradesh, which were happened just now, and there was a post which was posted on the Facebook relating to event which happened in 2017, and the news was linked to Article 370, the amendment which took place in India. So likewise, we can see a lot of pictures which are being posted, trolled, and mostly these pictures are fake and manipulated content is being done. Likewise, we can see a picture in this, a picture of a woman. Uh, Clearly, she is just ripping a page, and in the next picture which created was it was shown that the US Constitution is being thrown apart in two pieces. So this we can see the impact of fake news, and during a lot of fake news also came during the Black Lives Matters, the campaign which happened in US. Now, the impact of this fake news and how it is being spread. So first, we can see different countries had adopted different definitions to define fake news. Where the France, specifically says the inexact allegations or imputations or news that falsely report facts with aims of changing the sincerity of a vote. This is how the fake news is defined in France. When it comes to Malaysia, Malaysia says any news, information, data, and reports which are wholly or partly false, whether in form of features, visuals, or audio recordings, or in any other form which suggests some ideas which are relatively false. Whereas in India, we had prescribed under a Press Council of India Act, which defines fake news as news, story, information, data, and reports which are wholly or partly false. Now, when we see the fake news and how it is being spread, first we need to understand its framework, so how it works. So in this, we have agents, we have message, and we have interpreters. The agents are the authors of information, message is the content which is being shared, and interpreter are the persons who perceive that. So again, this comes to the picture of narratives, what narrative you are sharing and what the other person is thinking of that narrative too. So how this becomes a kind of misinformation or the disinformation. And this depends particularly on the public perception, how public views that. And this is how online propagandas are being spread. And this is how we see how it got spread in India during these amendments and recent incidents. Now, when we compare this to a public perception, a report was made by the Eurobarometer in 2018. The survey was conducted, and it was seen the major agents which are responsible for this kind of a spread of information. The maximum agents were the journalists. So we can see that a responsible journalism is very important in such types of information warfare. And then we can see the cycle of this misinformation, fake news, how it flows. First, it is being created, then it is being propagated. Then we need to understand the verification, because through verification only, to certain extent, we can limit this. We can stop and or we can say that limit the flow of such kind of information, and then the impact which is being caused. Now, on the search engines, we can easily find different websites promoting this search engines, which creates such kind of posts which are fake. And so anyone who uses Google can easily create these posts and can easily share this post. And once it gets created, so everyone who is in the context or who has similar narratives will keep on sharing that news, and within a week it will be spread in whole of the country. So in some social media platforms, there is a kind of online advertisement and clickbait. So if you click on those advertisement, they will pop up to a next window, and in that window, when you will be popped up, they will take out all your privacy, what kind of preferences you have, what bookmarks you have, and accordingly they will set you as a kind of a target, and they will keep on sending you such kind of online advertisement. And this is how they earn the money. So number of clicks advertisement have, accordingly it will value the money for those advertisements. Now, how it works, how this information warfare comes up. So first we have a confirmation bias. That is the narrative which the professor shared, because each and everyone has certain beliefs, and on those beliefs we set our values. So if I have from some background and I have some values, my uh, way of looking at the things will be according to the values which I have inculcated. So my narrative would be that, and this is how I will form confirmation bias. And how AI works on the social media platforms. Now, if I have some friend from University of Silesia in Poland, and I expertise in constitutional law, so my Facebook request will show me the persons who I can add will be in the same field of constitutional law. So this is how they will form a filter bubble, and I will get to know only those people which are of my preference, and which have same ideology or thought which I carry. So similar friends I can see in my friend list, and this is how it works. So if I post something, like presently, if I post something on in the favor of Russia, so I will get to know only those people who are posting about Russia, and I will not get to see the people who are telling some other stories about Russia or about the Ukraine. So this is how the social media platforms using the AI, artificial intelligence, sets filter bubble, and this converts whole into the group of echo chambers, where the people having similar views, carrying similar opinions will get together and get connected. And this is how, if one person shares the information, they will get to know the people who are sharing that. If they have the similar preference, they will also share those thoughts. And this is how rapidly it gets, you can say, spread. Now, another kind of fake amplifiers which work on social media is the social boots, the fake human accounts. And those fake human accounts, either they will retweet those posts on the Twitter or the Facebook. And by retweeting those posts, so it will get easy for them to spread such messages. And when such fake accounts are there, they call it as sock puppets. And these sock puppets, when they spread or they automate, it becomes cyborgs. And when then cyborgs work or carry some political agendas, then it becomes trolls. So this is how the fake information is being spread. And one of the another aspects of this, we can see that how artificial intelligence is working is through the deep fakes. Similar picture, they will just carry a different message. And this is all done by the use of artificial intelligence. And now when we see all these examples, and we see the information warfare, When I relate it with the legislative frameworks we have in India to control fake news during the elections, so we have a Representation of People Act 1951 and some Election Commission model of conduct. So, for example, if Election Commission feels that certain social media posts which are being shared by some parties or some party accounts, and they feel it that this is some kind of abusive or which doesn't follow the Election Commission guidelines, then they can report that blog or that post to the social media, and then it is on the intermediary. So Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, these are the intermediary. Then they have the liability to delete that post within 3 hours. Now, how intermediary works is that intermediaries will also see whether that content fall in their definition of the misbehavior or misconduct news or blog or not. So if it doesn't match to their perspective of fake news, so they will not delete that. So here comes the problem between the governments and the intermediaries, and where we can fix the liabilities of intermediaries and how we can hold them accountable. Now, this is one of the problems which we are facing, and I want to share some case laws in India which dealt with the misuse of, you can say, the machinery of the press during elections. And also, I want to share the case of Ukraine, the Orange Revolution, which happened in 2014, and about the referendum in Russia, which happened just now in 2020. Now, when I'm sharing these cases, I want to take you back to the India era of 1975. So, in 1975, what happened? The Indian government, which was formed after independence in 1950, we adopted our constitution and our government was formed. The same party was ruling the country till 1975. So they had a lot of support and everyone was voting for them, and they were coming into elections, winning elections after every 5 years, and they continued till 1975. And when the prime minister was contesting election, so there was a person who was contesting against her, and he filed a petition in the High Court saying that she has abused her power during the elections. She has misused power. How? Because she has manipulated the media. So she only tried to impose on the media whatever she told. So again, a narrative which was shared by the political party, it was only there, not the other narratives were there. So now when the question came to the court whether the prime minister has abused her power during the elections, and then the question was towards the court, can the court or the judiciary review those elections? So, what power is given to the court, or how much strong the constitutional courts are? Now, when this question was posed, it was taken back to the courts as the first precedence when the courts were deciding on election dispute, and it was the prime minister which was in the stake. And you would be amazed to see that the courts, when they were hearing this, because they were under pressure, was the first time it was happening in our country. And now the court took back to the original values of the constitution. And the court said that constitutions are there to protect the liberties of the people. And constitution is a grand norm, is a basic norm. So every action of the executive, parliament, or the judiciary has to conform to the constitutional values. And if it doesn't conform, the court has the power to rule such action as unconstitutional or ultra vires of the constitution. So the court was deciding this, and court ruled that the High Court said that we are declaring her elections as unconstitutional. She cannot contest the elections from 6 years from now, according to the Constitution of India. And this power is being exercised by the judiciary as an institution because the Constitution has given this power to them. And when this happened in 1975, on the same day when the court orders came, the Prime Minister imposed emergency in India, saying that, look, I'm the Prime Minister, I can do anything, I have the majority. And she took over to the courts. And then the dispute altogether started between the judiciary on the one hand and the parliament on the other hand. And again in 1977, the court struck down those emergency powers which were abused and declared them as unconstitutional. So we can say that we were lucky that we have such courts which check the power of the parliaments and its elected members, that they don't abuse those powers made in the form of media, controlling the media and showing the people only one aspect of what's happening in the country. Similar case when we see this happened in the Ukraine 2004. Two different candidates, one pro-Western, another pro-Russian, contesting elections. And when the elections were taking place in 2004, so in the election of president in Ukraine, they follow this procedure. If a candidate gets maximum votes, more than 51% of vote, the candidate directly becomes the president. But if they doesn't get 51% vote, then they will go for the second round, in which the two candidates which get the maximum vote in the first round will contest against each other. And when this was happening in Ukraine, the candidate which was pro-Western, he get the maximum votes, and but he didn't get the 51% in vote. So there was a second round, and when second round was happening, the pro-Russian candidate, which was from the eastern province of Ukraine, abused the power because at that time he was also the prime minister of Ukraine. He controlled all the polling stations where the elections were happening, and he manipulated those votes by allowing some voters to cast the vote for the second time, also by using all the media channels. So whatever the other candidate want to display on the news media, it was not displayed. So this is how, and the similar picture came up in the elections in the second round. The pro-Russian candidate won and the pro-Western candidate lost. And to this, all the Ukraine people, they came onto the streets wearing the orange color, saying that it is undemocratic. The polls, exit polls were different, and the election results were different. And there was clearly election fraud which has happened because he has abused his machinery because he was prime minister, and he cannot do that. And when the Ukraine Supreme Court was hearing this, it was for the first time they were reviewing the election results. And, it, and even the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, he came during this elections to support his candidate. And no one was supporting the Western candidate. But ultimately, court said, we will check because we have the power. Judiciary is the savior of citizen rights, and it's there to see free and fair elections. And the court struck down the election results of the second round, and again the third round of voting happened on 23rd December 2004, and that candidate win. So this we can see how judiciary as an institution is a safeguardian, and the recent example of 2020 referendum. Clearly, the Russian constitution, when you see the Russian constitution and the procedure of amendment, it says if you want to amend part first, part second, and part 9 of the Russian constitution, you need to constitute a new constituent assembly and then you need to have a referendum. But what happened just now in 2020? They bypassed that procedure. They only have an amendment, and then they took a plebiscite saying that my amendment is supported by the plebiscite and showing that we can play with the constitution. We can see that. Why? Because the constitutional court in Russia is just a mute spectator right now. And how we can see the election results and election machinery is accountable to the judiciary and how they can check on the constitutional values. So these clearly says that how we can stop these fake news informations and how important the function of court is during elections. Thank you.